Hi friends, welcome back. So headline, largest IT outage in history leaves world reeling. And if you're watching this video, you probably already know what I'm talking about. Hi friends. Um, for real. It's actually really interesting because for those of you who are on Windows, I think they refer to this as the blue screen of death. So I'm sure you guys are aware of this. And please type in the comments if this is affecting you. In our household, we have Macs, so I don't have to deal with this stuff, thankfully. But I won't say that we're not affected. I mean, it seems like every industry out there is affected. So if you go to websites and you try to go shopping, or you try to do anything with your banks, try to travel, and any number of things, they say, hey, we have system outages, etc. And it's interesting because this is one of my favorite South Park episodes. The joke was is if what happens if the internet goes down, what happens to society, and it's the internet refugee camp here. But the best joke of the show was like the beginning. They're like all these people in South Park are freaking out because I can't even check the internet to see why the internet is down because if the internet goes down, like how do you find out anything? Like I actually have to talk to a human being, etc. And it's I mean, that's part of the world that we live in. We're all affected by computers. Now, it's not the internet as a whole. If you're watching this on YouTube, etc., it looks like the internet's fine. It's actually just Windows, and I think it was some sort of update to CrowdStrike, which we'll talk about in a moment here. I'll read through the details of this thing. So I guess many news sites were down, and I want to bring this stuff up as well. When the Elon Musks and the Kathy Woods say that robo-taxis and all your Tesla stock pumpers say this automation robotaxi stuff replace humans is a thing. I just don't think it's going to be a thing, especially on days like today. Like I said, all the kids telling you we're going to depend on drones and stuff like that forever. I don't see it. The reason why is because, well, at the moment, you can't hack a human, or a human can't necessarily go down due to a widespread Microsoft CrowdStrike outage. Even if Kathy Wood tells you the stock's going to go tenfold, or Tesla stock pumpers going to tell you it's going to go like 48,000 fold or whatever, and you know what I'm talking about. And I want to bring up the crypto world. Like, if you really think we're going to go to this world where we're all going to be on some sort of digital cryptocurrency, you don't need cash, don't need anything physical. I think days like today is a good reminder to be careful out there of what you believe in terms of like how much we're going to be relying on our digital lives. Yeah, this is the headline. And again, I want to hear from you guys. How have you been affected today? Did you work today? Did the company just say, hey, go home? Or could you even not get any messages from your company? That's also a thing, right? What if they send messages through Windows, etc.? So it says here, major Windows BSOD issues hit banks, airlines, TV broadcasters, all kinds of stuff. Companies around the world hit by Microsoft. I can't even keep up with this stuff, and it's actually really interesting. I noticed on some of the news websites, this is Bloomberg over here, the way they were showing things was different than normal. So I'm sure they're affected just like everyone else. I mean, I was looking at this also, like for example, this was a chart of various banks, so like Barclays, and this is I think a British source. So that's sort of why they're showing you only certain banks and not like American ones only, but the basic gist of it, though, is you can see the spike of problems. So I think, what does it say? Number of reported outages in the UK. Yeah. And that's banks. This is on your shopping, these kind of things. Aldi, Amazon, right? Salisbury, Morgos, Tesco. And then here it says how a software update from cyber firm CrowdStrike caused one of the world's biggest IT blackouts. Let's read the details of this thing. And again, I want to hear from people in the community. How have you been affected by this? So it says here, CrowdStrike software requires deep access to a computer's operating system to scan for threats. So, right, it doesn't sound like a hack. At least that's what was been reported. It's just an update that didn't work, I guess. In the case of Friday's outage, machines running Microsoft Windows operating system crashed due to a fault in the way a software update issued by CrowdStrike interacted with Windows. And there's a quote here. We have been made aware of the issue impacting virtual machines running Windows Client and Windows Server, okay, running the CrowdStrike Falcon agent. And I guess a ton of industries are using said thing. It says here, which may encounter a bug check So BSOD, balloon screen of death. Oh, okay. It's funny. I knew blue screen of death. I knew that phrase. I didn't know we referred to it as BSOD. Computer sort of people, we'll say. I can say geeks if you want, but people, because we're all geeks these days when it comes to computers. Computer people, I always have a sense of humor about this. It was like DOS was like dirty operating system. That was one of the original names for how would you describe DOS? I guess operating system, but it was I can't remember the origins of why we call it dirty operating system. And you guys can let me know. Maybe it's because at the time that like it was a really messy code or something like that. I have to go back to my computer history, but they have a sense of humor about that. Anyway, so you may encounter a blue screen of death and get stuck in restarting state. Oh, so you have to keep restarting your computer over and over again. I see. That's irritating. So like I said, we're on Mac, so I haven't experienced this for a while, but I know what this would refer to for sure. We approximate impact started from 1900 UTC July, and said an update on 5:40 a.m. Eastern time. So this would be like when you wake up this morning. So some of you may not even have gone to work today. I can imagine a lot of people. Zoom calls are down. Like everything's. I mean, it's the same with, like I said. It's like when the internet goes down, you can't even check the internet to see what's wrong with the internet. Kind of like that. We can confirm the affected update has been pulled by CrowdStrike. Customers that are continuing to experience issues should reach out to CrowdStrike for additional assistance. And I think their stock was down like 10% or something like that today. I was actually surprised it wasn't down more, because it's going to cost them quite a bit. And I read some crazy stuff too about some industries might take weeks to recover, and like shipping industry would be affected by this. It's everything. Everything uses computers. That's who doesn't use computers? Everybody does. And I would say yes. I was thinking in terms of like yes, there are jobs that are physical labor, a person doing something, but still, computers usually there's someone in office sitting somewhere to schedule something or run the books on something or infected in some way. But yeah, it's what else we got here? Satnam Narang, senior staff researcher at Tenable, told CNBC on Friday the outage was, quote, very unprecedented. That's why the headlines here was like largest in history here. The challenge here is that security software, because it's doing its job to protect organizations, it has to have more privileged access to these machines. I see. So when you update these things, and I remember this was because I've used Windows machines before, where like you have to give the software different access to your computer, right? And there's different levels of that. And you remember was it Windows 95? There was one of the Windows when it first started out, where like everything that you had to do, you had to like approve it and give different softwares different levels, and it was like so irritating to do anything on Windows. I used to have Windows machines. I switched to Mac a long time ago, and I don't work fat part that. I've been really happy with Mac, but everything depends on what you're doing, of course. And your mileage may vary. The other thing is too is these days you can run a whole bunch of stuff just through browser, so that may be a different OS entirely going ahead in the future. I remember that, and I'm just talking a lot here because like alternatives to Windows. I remember I had a machine I built my own computer, and it was fun. If you haven't yet built a computer in your lifetime, just give it a try sometime. It's fun. I've messed around with the Unix stuff. I had Ubuntu. I think that's how you say Ubuntu, and other things. And essentially, you can get like these free versions of. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I'll say I had Ubuntu, and I think that all of these are Linux. Linux, that's the word to say. But when you get into this whole like, right word to say, it's not hacking's not the right word, but say computer savvy community and like these sort of open source. Free download operating systems. It's really quite interesting, like alternatives to Windows if we're ever to go that route. I mean, these days, I'm sure you guys know, like I said, Microsoft, it's been like this for years, dominate the space. But there are all alternatives out there, and this is for, and this is, I kind of bring this up because I don't want to imply that Apple's the only thing out there or Windows is the only thing out there. There's lots of choices, or theoretically, we go to some sort of, browsing operating system that's completely different than everything else. But then the issue with the, say, browsing operating system, or sort of internet-based operating system, which is, we have Outage up today with the with the internet, or internet's fine, but the Microsoft Windows down is down. But the part of like kind of what the move is, many companies, and I've experienced myself, where you may have like a laptop, and then your actual computing processing power is like on some sort of server. I think that's for security for some reason. And for those of you computer savvy, can explain this probably better than me. But it was interesting because I remember I had to log in to like a quote secure environment. So it'd be like whatever laptop was like a client, and then like all the data and all the stuff was locked somewhere else in some sort of cloud. And then it was a little bit easier to share information with each other, I guess, with whatever team. But obviously, all these kind of things, the more stuff you put on a computer and network access, stuff like that, I think hacking and these kind of outages, if you're relying on the web, you get hacking problems like that. If you're relying on the computer, you got this kind of stuff where just outage is just separate than hacking. And this is sort of why, like I mentioned, that the whole robotaxi thing, I think it's just a non-starter to begin with. So reading through this stuff and just thinking about like it's like I've been looking at the list. I can't even read through all the companies that are affected. It's like so many. And it was interesting. Like I could imagine, like I think the airline's an interesting one where I think their systems are completely outdated, and anyone who's had a problem at the airport and you'll know what I'm talking about. To where they'll say, oh, we got a software problem, we can't do anything. And you're like, what are you talking about? The plane's sitting right out there. Just fly me home, that kind of stuff. And that's just airline. I mean, there's any number of things that could be affected. This also says here too, so while people may be seeing their IT issues as a problem with Windows, it's not actually a Windows issue. It's related to a faulty or bad update from the security software. So I think CrowdStrike is to blame. The big companies out there and as a whole, and this is sort of why you wouldn't want monopolies of any particular system that we all use. So any kind of your cybersecurity update stuff, I think, is a big one. That your operating system is a big one, and then your cloud service. So I think Amazon dominates that space. Microsoft has cloud stuff as well. So like it will be the Microsoft Teams or the 365 service. Google also is in the cloud, as a cloud space. I'm trying to think of any other major companies, and we have too much centralization, and like we're relying on too many monopoly type stuff. So that's what's going on in our markets today, and plus on top of that, which I made in a prior video to this one, we have a bit of a meltdown, and you could say the same thing: too much concentration in our political power, right? Like the quote, only two-party choices. I say quote because there hopefully is a better way. So I'll be curious. I'd like to hear people's thoughts on this stuff. Are there ways to avoid this sort of like modernized world that we live in? We're all dependent on just a few companies / systems, or is this the world that we're stuck in and there's no way out of it? I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So thanks again for your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.